Okay.
There is a country presently in Asia by the name of China,
Right.
that is investing billions of dollars in African countries.
Yes.
And what we're hearing from strategists is that they are planning to colonize Africa.
Yes.
Presently in South Africa, one of the languages that has been given the green light to be taught in schools is Mandarin.
Okay. In South Africa.
In South Africa today. In Zimbabwe, the Chinese people have taken a huge chunk of the society or of the land in the country, and they now own it, and they're using it to trade and to do as they please. In fact, I was told that the Chinese have quarantined certain aspects or certain parts of Zimbabwe that nobody knows what's going on behind the walls they've built. But because it is theirs and they've bought it and they've paid for it, the government even is helpless. Nigeria has borrowed from the Chinese.
Yep.
So we're having a very serious...
And still borrowing.
And we're still in the process of borrowing.
Yes.
And the Chinese are spreading their tentacles all over the African continent. What can we do to make sure that in 20, 30, 50 years from now, we're not going to be slaves to the Chinese? Because they are so futuristic in the way they think. They are very strategic. And with the plans they've put in place, our leaders are falling into the traps and into the ploys that they have set up. So how do we safeguard ourselves today from becoming what we just got out of with the British? And in fact, some people are still suffering, from French colonialism. How do we save ourselves from falling into the same trap?
Well, if you talk to most young African people today, they will probably tell you that it's better we are colonized again.
Oh my God.
Than to be with these so-called African leaders who are just robbing us and not leading us anywhere.
Wow.
I'm sure, but people who, of course, who are thinking, who are matured, would not think like that. But because we know that, majority of people in any nation are just gray masses or biomasses. And those biomasses will still say, let them come and colonize us. The same people who said, yes, Trump is right, whereas something, a certain hole. Well, if they could say that Trump was right, they will also be ready and willing to give up themselves as slaves again and to give up their nations as colonies again. Because so for people to admit to that kind of confession or utterance and not challenge it and correct it, it means that those kind of people will still be ready and willing to give themselves up for colonization.
But mentally they are slaves.
Mentally they're still slaves, yes. So what will I say? What would be my own solution as to the China challenge? The first thing we have to realize is that we need China.
Well, that's one thing that I wasn't expecting to hear.
The second thing we have to realize is that the West, or the Western betrayal, has led to the to the elevation or arising of China, to the rising of China. China has risen thanks to the neglect of the West. I went to America one time, and I was in the same room with Hillary Clinton. I was in the same room with Bill Clinton, in the same room with so many senators and so many people from the American political elite. I asked them two questions because we were having discussion in a grey room. And the question I asked them is this, that last year I visited Jamaica. And even though I'm Nigerian, but I live in Europe. But after I visited Jamaica, and then I visited Mexico, dear gentlemen and women, I want to say, I can now see why America will never be secure, no matter how much wars. I didn't use the word wars those days. I just say America will never be secure. So they said, why? Make your point, sir. I said, well, the reason is because I live in Europe, and in Europe, as I noticed something, as soon as communism fell, in 10 years, the development of Russia and Ukraine and former Soviet Union and Hungary and Poland and Bulgaria, all these Eastern countries, they were in dark communism. They were in the black communism. They were like down in the hole of communism before the wall fell. But as soon as the wall fell, all these European countries, they moved in. They moved into Eastern Europe, and Eastern Europe became one. I mean, Eastern Germany became one with Western Germany. You will not see the difference almost. Then they also moved further and helped develop. They brought investments in, even to their arch enemy, who is Russia. They still brought it so much that right now you will not see a big gap between Eastern and Western Europe. All of them have enough amenities, enough infrastructure, enough food to eat, enough to survive, development to survive. I mean, from where they were, because I've been here for 30 years. I know the difference. And what shocked me is that what Russia, Ukraine, and all these Eastern European countries got from Europe in 5 years is more than what Africa got in 50 years.
Wow.
What they get in 1 year is more than what we get in 20 years. They just came because they see, they see Europe as their mainland, as one territory. And they say, if we don't develop them, they will come over here and overtake us. So they are saying, even though they are communists, these people are atheists, these people are their enemies, so to say, but they are still seeing them as their brothers. But Africa and all that, they just treating us as, we are okay here, so they will not disturb us. Just only those ones who are able to escape to come here. So I said, but when I never expected what I saw in the American continent. So I was telling them, you share the same continent with Mexico. And Mexicans are running here and, by boat, crossing the border and illegally going through all, they are ready to die, to just cross over. But you are always thinking in America that how to secure our border, That is callous. That is treacherous. That is wickedness. Instead of you talking about doing what Europe did, why don't you say, okay, let's extend our prosperity and civilization and our blessing to the whole continent? How can Jamaica be 1 hour from you, flight from Miami, 1 hour, and Jamaica is like Africa? How can Haiti be 1 hour from America, from 1 hour? This is like from here to Kiev, 1 hour flight.
And it's like a completely different
And it's like in the third world. It's just like saying you are in Germany, and here will be like Africa, and you are on the same continent. That is wickedness. I said, you are only thinking about your own well-being. And when I hear about your elections, you are always arguing, the economy, or how to protect immigration, how to control this. You want to build your own heaven, so that every other person will live in hell and you don't care. That hell will get to you. Either you like it or you don't like it, or that hell will find its way to you.
On your territory.
It will encroach you. And those Mexicans, they will come and invade your land. And those Jamaicans and those Haitians, they will overwhelm. They will become majority one day. You mark my word.
Wow.
You will begin to speak Spanish one day.
Pastor, your prophecy is coming to pass already.
Yeah, I told them this 10 years ago, 12 years ago. And I said, this is the wickedness of our Western world. So when we look at, that's why I say, we need China. And the rise of China is because of the betrayal of Western world. Because we were closer to the Western world. We served them as our masters. We got independent from them, but we maintain relationship with them. But they let us down. They don't care for us. So you know what the people, then 5 senators, 5 people spoke. One of them was a senator. 4 of them were senators. One of them was, the president. So you know what the explanation they gave me for my argument? They said, you are very, very right. They said, we are very right. He said, I would have liked to, most of them said, the first one who said, I would have liked to answer you in a politically correct way. But you made such a strong argument that it is impossible for us to answer you in a politically correct manner. And he went on to say, even you are talking about Europe. He said, the reason why, he said, even right now, we are senators, we are presidents. He said, he spoke of himself. I have Irish descent. I'm of Irish descent. Yes, I'm of Irish descendants. The other one spoke, I said, I'm Scottish descendant. But even though we are on another continent, you are talking about Europe and Africa, because you are still far, right? But we are even also far from Europe. But do you think if we want to consider big investments, like trillions, billions of investments, do you think we're going to be thinking about Mexico? No, we'll think about Ireland. We'll think about Scotland. We'll think about Germany. Because that's where we come from. Even though we don't have any contact with them today, we don't have any family relationship, but we just intuitively feel ourselves as connected to Europe more. We see ourselves as Europeans. And the Jews among us see themselves, they don't see themselves connected more to Mexicans, they see themselves connected to Israel. They see themselves as Jews. So if the Jews in America, who have a large portion of the finances there, if they want to invest, you think they're going to think about Jamaica?
They're going to Israel.
They are going to Israel. So he told me, let me just tell you, it's not going to be politically correct, but this is what happened. He said, but, another one spoke and said, but, Mr. Senator, let me say this. Will you agree, they themselves were talking this, that our most faithful allies sometimes are not Europeans but Africans? They said the least problems we have is with African governments. They always support American policies. When you go to the United Nations, sometimes European nations will vote against our proposals. Even sometimes the allies, Scandinavian countries will vote against sometimes. Sometimes even Germany will vote against. So only England is always constant. But most of the other countries are always voting against our policies. But Africans are always voting majorly in support of us.
America.
But why don't we think of helping them too? It just doesn't work that way. When you go to the Senate or the Congress, we're only thinking more of just giving peanuts help to them. But we are not thinking about making them independent or develop or grow like us. And you know, they say we have to think about that. That's just what they told me. But Jamaica, that is a shame. They admitted that it's really a shame that Jamaica is just 1 hour from the United States and it's like 2 worlds. That, you know, Mexico is just 1 hour, I mean, less than 1 hour away from even by drive. And it's yet, you know, they are like third world. That they say, we admit it's a shame. But another one said, America is capitalist society. We think about ourselves first. But then they also confessed, they forgot that the other one has confessed that we are thinking ourselves more as Europeans. They let us down. Britain would think more about America as part of them, as for Australia, than Africa.
But Pastor, why is it that Africans, we are not placing a demand on them? For example, why don't we say, if we're going to vote with you as our friends in the United Nations, these are our, you know, our requests? Because
if we don't vote, okay, for example, recently, the permanent representative of America in the United Nations came out and said, we want to move our capital, the capital of America, to from Jerusalem, from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem. If you don't vote for us, there will be consequences. Even though everybody knows that it's going to be conflict, it's going to lead to conflict, but the guy told them, so if you don't vote for us,
they come after you.
Yeah, we are going after you because we have money and we have weapons. That's exactly what they go and look at for it on the internet. So when you are weak, you don't play demands on people who are strong. It is the people who are strong who place demands.
Who dictate to you how things would go.
That's the way our world runs.
But Pastor, that means that we're headed for a very dangerous future because the Chinese are communist.
Yes.
They are not benevolent.
No, I've not spoken. I've only spoken from the point of view of
why we need the Chinese.
Yeah, why we need the Chinese. But I've not spoken as to the problem with Chinese and how to resolve the problem with Chinese. Okay. That is the second part of my idea. But maybe you wanted to comment before I go ahead.
No, what you're saying is exactly correct. And at the end of the day, Africa would always go to where they're going to get help from.
Yes.
They're always going to look to whoever is offering the help.
Now you understand why we are in China, why we are with Chinese.
And just like you told